If you played mobile games during the 2000s and 10s, chances are you've heard of Shadow Fight. Maybe you spent hours trying to defeat Lynx. Maybe Hermit's lightning attacks ruined your day more times than you want to admit. Or maybe you finally defeated Titan and felt like you had completed one of the greatest journeys in mobile gaming history. For many players, Shadow Fight was not another mobile game. It was the mobile fighting game. The series built a massive fan base, reached millions of downloads, and created some of the most memorable boss fights on mobile devices. But today, whenever fans discuss the franchise, one question keeps coming up. What happened to Shadow Fight? How did one of mobile gaming's most beloved fighting series become so divided among its own community? To understand that, we need to go back to where it all started. Before Shadow Fight became a mobile giant, it was a Facebook game released by Neki in 2011. The original game stood out because of its animation quality. Neki used motion capture technology to create smooth and realistic movements. Players enjoyed the experience, and Neki saw potential for something bigger. Then, in 2014, everything changed. Shadow Fight 2 launched. This was the game that turned Shadow Fight into a global success. Shadow Fight 2 combined fighting mechanics with RPG progression. Players took control of Shadow, a warrior who opened the gates of shadows in search of power. Unfortunately, opening mysterious magical gates turned out to be a terrible idea. Shadow lost his physical form and became a living silhouette. To fix his mistake, he needed to defeat 6 powerful demons and close the gates. Simple story, great execution. The demons quickly became some of the most memorable bosses in mobile gaming. First came Lynx. For many players, Lynx was the first major reality check. His bombs seemed endless. You entered the fight feeling prepared. 30 seconds later, you were wondering how one person managed to carry enough explosives to supply a small army. Then came Hermit. Hermit introduced lightning attacks that tested your reflexes. According to every player who fought him, Hermit's favorite hobby was deleting your health bar. Butcher focused on raw strength. One mistake against him could end the fight. Wasp challenged players with speed and range. Widow forced players to adapt their strategies. Finally, there was Shogun. Apparently, Shogun believed fighting fair was optional because he brought bodyguards into battle. Each boss felt unique. Each victory felt earned. That was one of Shadow Fight 2's biggest strengths. The game respected player skill. Better equipment helped, but success depended on timing, positioning, and understanding your opponent. The visual style also played a huge role in the game's popularity. The shadow silhouettes created a unique identity. Without detailed character models or flashy effects, the game relied on smooth animations and strong art direction. The result was timeless. Even years later, Shadow Fight 2 still looks good. The game reached hundreds of millions of downloads worldwide. For many players, this became the gold standard for mobile fighting games. Then came Titan. Titan served as the final boss of Shadow Fight 2. He was massive, intimidating, and incredibly difficult. Defeating Titan tested everything players had learned throughout the game. Some players defeated him after a few attempts. Others spent hours trying. Some probably considered uninstalling the game at least once. But when you finally won, the feeling was unforgettable. It felt like you had earned the victory. At this point, Shadow Fight was at its peak. Then Neki faced a difficult challenge. How do you follow up a game that millions of players love? In 2017, Shadow Fight 3 arrived. And this is where opinions started to split. Shadow Fight 3 introduced major changes. The iconic Shadow art style disappeared. Characters now appeared as fully rendered 3D models. The game introduced 3 factions. Legion focused on power and defense. Dynasty specialized in speed and combinations. Heralds emphasized precision and advanced technology. From a technical standpoint, Shadow Fight 3 did many things well. But for many fans, something felt different. The Shadow aesthetic had become part of the franchise's identity. Removing it changed the atmosphere. Some players welcomed the new direction. Others missed the simplicity and style of Shadow Fight 2. Shadow Fight 3 was not a bad game. It simply followed a different vision. Then another issue started becoming more noticeable: monetization. Shadow Fight 2 had microtransactions. Players could purchase gems and premium items. However, many fans felt the system remained reasonable. Grinding existed, but progression still felt achievable without spending money. Shadow Fight 3 changed that perception for some players. The game introduced more systems tied to premium currencies and random rewards. Players encountered loot boxes. Limited time offers appeared frequently. Special equipment often required significant grinding. Some players felt progression slowed down unless they invested money. The criticism wasn't about microtransactions existing. Most players understand that free-to-play games need revenue. The concern involved how heavily these systems influenced progression. Then came Shadow Fight Arena. Arena represented another major shift for the franchise. Instead of focusing primarily on single-player progression, Arena emphasized competitive multiplayer battles. Players selected heroes with unique abilities and fought against others online. For some fans, this was exciting. For others, it moved away from what made Shadow Fight special. Then monetization concerns grew even stronger. Shadow Fight Arena introduced systems common in many modern free-to-play games. These included character upgrades, multiple premium currencies, battle passes, randomized reward chests, frequent promotional offers. Many players argued that progression felt slower without spending money. Some believed success depended more on investment than skill. Discussions about combat and strategy increasingly shifted toward conversations about pricing models and progression systems. For longtime fans, this represented a major change. Shadow Fight 2 built its reputation on rewarding gameplay and memorable boss encounters. Later entries caused some players to feel that business decisions had started influencing game design more heavily. This does not mean newer Shadow Fight games lacked quality. Shadow Fight 3 expanded the universe and offered deeper mechanics. Arena introduced competitive gameplay that many players genuinely enjoyed. But the increase in monetization affected how many fans viewed the franchise. So, what happened to Shadow Fight? The answer depends on who you ask. From a business perspective, the franchise continues to succeed. The games still attract players. The community remains active. From a fan perspective, many people continue to view Shadow Fight 2 as the peak of the series. Several reasons explain why. The visual style was unique. The progression system felt rewarding. The boss fights were memorable. The gameplay balanced challenge with accessibility. Nostalgia also plays a role, but nostalgia alone does not explain its lasting popularity. Strong game design matters. Even today, players return to Shadow Fight 2. They experiment with different weapons. They replay their favorite battles. And they once again remember why Hermit's lightning attacks caused so much emotional damage. The Shadow Fight series demonstrates how difficult it is to evolve a successful franchise. Some players want innovation. Others want familiarity. Finding the balance between those expectations is never easy. Shadow Fight 2 established the foundation. Shadow Fight 3 expanded the world. Shadow Fight Arena explored competitive gameplay. Each game pursued different goals. Each attracted different audiences. Whether those changes improved the franchise or moved it away from its roots remains a matter of opinion. One fact is difficult to ignore. Shadow Fight left a major impact on mobile gaming. It proved mobile fighting games could offer depth, challenge, and memorable experiences. It created boss fights that players still talk about years later. Very few mobile franchises achieve that level of influence.